Hello, everybody. It's Friday again.
Hey, how you doing?
Greetings from Hangzhou International School. This is the counseling department, and we're doing our weekly HIS University Counseling Chat. So we're school counselors, and this session today is about how to get the best use of school counselor.
Um, so I would say, in terms of being able to get the best use out of a school counselor, I mean, obviously, you want to get to know your counselor really early in the process, right? So that would be like grade 8, grade 9. You want to make sure you know who your university counselor is. Um, I think, school counselors, we tend to have sort of like maybe a bigger caseload than say, an independent educational consultant or an advisor outside. So it's kind of like going to a bigger school, like from a big public school to a small private school. The big public school has basically everything that you need, but you have to reach out and go and get it a lot of the times, and that's kind of what like with the school counselor, right?
Yes.
You want to make sure that you're reaching out to the counselor, you're asking the counselor questions, because the counselor generally will have a fairly big caseload, and they've got to look after all those kids, So like really be intentional about getting to know the counselor, and then using the expertise that's there in the counseling office, right?
You know what? I think even the private agencies, they might also deal with a big caseload as well. They just don't tell you about it.
It's possible, um, but I would find it hard to like how many students do you have?
This year for grade 12, I only have two.
Yeah, but how many do you have like all throughout?
All throughout, probably 150.
Yeah, so I'm doubting that most individual outside ones are not going to have 150 kids, right? But anyway, um, so I think there are kind of two. I see it really in terms of university counseling at high schools. There's really two kinds of counseling, right? There's what I would call or is called administrative counseling. And that's really where the university counselor is doing that administrative stuff for your application. They're making the transcript, and they're putting on making sure that the school profile is attached and writing up a letter for you. That sort of stuff is kind of administrative stuff. And I would say basically every high school is going to have that, right?
Yes.
Like that's the bottom line that you're going to get, right?
Yes.
You know that your counselor is going to create your transcript and make sure your transcript is uploaded. They're going to do some kind of letter. They're going to fill in whatever forms need to be done so that your application gets gone, right? And that is pretty much every school is going to have that. And the other part then is really the strategic counseling. And I think what happens in a lot of schools is that the parents don't have confidence maybe in the university counseling at the school, or they don't think that the university counselors are experienced enough, or they're not sure, and they will go outside to get that strategic counseling, right? And so there would be, I mean, yeah, there's going to be different levels of counseling. I think any students at our school, like, can obviously the administrative counseling, we're going to do it, but like the strategic counseling, they're going to get that strategic counseling from the school, but unfortunately, not every school is going to be able to do that, right? So I can understand why, if people are taking a look and they're seeing like I mean, like, I think you would be sort of taking a look and thinking like, how many students does each counselor have? How much experience do they have? Or how helpful are they? Or how much can they do? And I can see why parents would, depends on the school, right? I mean, we're lucky in our school. Most international schools, I would think, like full international schools, they try and make sure that, the school is able to do strategic counseling as well as administrative. But I think for a lot of maybe some of the bilingual schools maybe, and
Yeah.
certainly at the Chinese schools, they're not there are very, very few of them are going to have like a lot of really like capacity in terms of the strategic counseling, right?
And I think for a lot of the parents who seek like outside agency help, they not only they don't have confidence in the school counselors, they want the VVVIP treat because we cannot respond to them on a timely basis. Like
Yeah, I mean, I'm like although I have to admit, I'm kind of bad that way. I mean, kids send me emails, and if I'm on my computer, I'll answer. You know, I mean, like so kids can, you know, weekends, summer holidays, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we try to do, but yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, like most I think people are like days finished, right, and it's weekend. So, but I don't think I think I'm pretty confident in terms of saying that the school here and what do I mean by strategic counseling? I think like helping with the school list, right? Like being able to being able to help. Okay,
plan out your
like timeline, like a timeline, which we provide. Like we help kids with school lists. We help kids with the timeline. Help with the essay.
Yes.
With the writing.
Yes.
Right. These are things that if you can get your school counselor to be able to help you with the school list and help you with the writing and help you with the timeline and like to know how to apply strategically, like maybe applying ED here, maybe EA here, where or to if you're using rolling, how to like balance between should we wait for more predicted grades or is it in your interest to go into the rolling application pool now? These kind of application strategies, that all comes into to strategic counseling, right?
Yes.
And that again, if you're not going to really connect with the school counselor, and if you're not going to, set up appointments and meet appointments and follow up with them, then you're.
And we're school counselors. We work in a school. We're based on a school, and we can talk to your academic teachers. We can talk to your coaches to know, like every side of you. I don't think the outside agency can have access to all of that.
Well, another thing for sure, I can tell you, since we're kind of looking and comparing, the school counselor really is the only person besides the admissions officer who can see everything.
Yes.
Right, like we can see everything. Like there's an outside educational consultant. They're certainly not going to be able to see the counselor letter. Hey, and we write it.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to see the teacher letters, and we get to see those. When we're looking at, say, for a UCAS application, for example, we see everything.
Yeah.
And in fact, for a UCAS application, a lot of students don't know it, but when they think they're sending it to UCAS, they're actually sending it to us, and we read through and approve the whole thing. And if we don't like it, we can send it back to them, or we then forward it on to UCAS. Your outside educational consultant is not going to be able to do that for kids who are applying through from international schools because the school controls UCAS. The same thing with in terms of the letters and the other thing I would say too. That I think is really, really important in terms of using the school counselor more is like we know where all the other kids in that grade level are applying.
Yeah.
And the outside educational consultant knows where his clients are applying, and so if he's working with you, he knows where you're going to apply. He doesn't know, for example, that he's going to think, okay, we're going to go for Dartmouth ED. He doesn't know that we have 3 other kids in our application pool who are applying to Dartmouth ED, for example, right? Like he doesn't know. And he doesn't know, he will not be able to compare necessarily where the student is in relation to the other kids in our application pool, whereas we do because we work with all the kids, not just 1 or 2 of them, right? So that's a big sort of and I would say even for students who are using an outside independent consultant, they should be, some of this strategic stuff, they should be working with the counselor, because we just have a bigger view of it.
Yes.
You know, so like, why would you not? Like, why would a student not take advantage of that, right? It's just you're just disadvantaging yourself if you don't. So,
and also networking is a big part of being a school counselor, and you know how much more we can do if we know the admission officer. For example, Mr. Donaher has a good example of our student from last year that she, can I say that? She didn't meet the IB requirements for this certain school. And we used our contact to help her get the admission letter. And today she finally gets her admission letter.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things, Carrie, and like completely right. Like, one of the biggest things that the school counselor can do, if the school invests in school counseling, and if the school is paying for, you know, for the school counselor to go to things like International ACAC, or to go, if they're part of CIS or IRCOS, to go to Bangkok, like for regionals, or to go to International ACAC regionals. Just like, for example, I can tell you this year, so last year I went to CIS, IRCOS in Bangkok, where I was able to represent the school and meet with about like maybe 150, 160 admission officers. Both of us went to International ACAC in the summer, where there's, like maybe 700-800 university admission officers. You're going to
Bangkok this year.
You're going to Bangkok this year. The other counselors going to Korea this year. And so what that does is it gives us, by going and meeting, it gives us access to admission offices. And most, I would say, very, 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 very few outside independent educational consultants in China would be able to get access. And if we can get access,
that means our parents and our students can get access.
Exactly, right? And so, like like what you're talking about there is a pretty good example of it, where if the student did not get access, I don't think they would have got admitted, right? And that, like, I've seen that happen many, 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 many times, you know, in terms of being able to answer questions. And really, when you get to the business kind of end, especially with not being able to meet conditions, if you have a good contact in an admissions office, if the school counselor has that contact,
that can make a lot of difference.
Yeah, it really can. Yeah. So
there are so many things we can do behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's so many there's so many things that we do behind the scenes to help students, and the students don't even know we're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay, so I think that's about it for today. So remember to get to know your school counselor as early as possible, and to get the best use out of your school counselor.
Right.
Okay.
And hopefully you've got a school where they can do strategic counseling too.
Yeah.
Like hopefully you've got that at your school.
Yeah. See you next Friday.
Okay, bye-bye.